process, specifically how can we guide the conversation with our customers to leverage the tools that we have and to earn their business. And then we'll talk about next steps to increase your sales with finance solutions. So again, a brief introduction on myself. Some of you may have seen me in the past doing sales trainings with AEE. I've had the opportunity to work in the solar industry since 2002. I worked in the field doing residential sales for a number of years and managing residential sales teams both in the California and New Jersey markets. I've had an opportunity to work as a sales training manager and have been working with AEE in a training role since 2015. And currently my title is Sales Operations Manager, where I work closely behind the scenes to support sales, specifically working on the financial products, technology, and just overall processes and tools to allow greater sales growth. So why do finance solutions matter? The short answer is because our customers want them to go solar. So here's some key statistics that will help provide perspective both on the California market as well as the greater U.S. market. And with California being one of the leading markets in the U.S., it's a great opportunity to see what trends are going on in an established market, which will eventually come to your respective markets. So, number one, currently approximately 2/3 of all customers going solar in California are using a third-party finance product. Specifically are things like the zero down or monthly or prepaid products, and we'll speak to that in more detail, but this is a very common tool for people to use to go solar. Approximately 90% of customers surveyed in the last 12 months have said the financial aspect was part of the buying decision, and for many of you, that is even greater than 90%. 80% of cash customers surveyed have a finance option. Even if they've decided to stay with purchasing cash and leveraging their own resources, they're always interested in understanding what options are available. Currently, 90+% of solar companies surveyed offer some type of financing option to their clients, with many offering more than one financing option. Most importantly, customers like to see options when they buy, even if it means that they're going to stay with what they originally wanted to do. They want to understand what options are available. And a lot of customers are limited by budget when it comes to going solar and what their specific needs are. And so by being able to finance a system, it is a great way for them to accomplish what their overall goal is, be it a larger system, maybe more functionality with the system, grid-tied battery backup, different components like that. Again, there's a high percentage of customers who like to see the options and want to leverage that to their success. Okay, so the goal of the presentation, to understand and present on the current finance options being used by residential customers to go solar, guidance on where to go and specific companies to partner with if you want to take advantage of some of the options available, knowledge and skills to share with your sales teams to increase your close rates and drive greater sales, understanding of what finance options you can offer based on customer interest, and certainly to have a good time as we go through this. So from the standpoint of introduction to solar financing, there's really a couple ways that people currently go solar. This slide does a good job of illustrating what those are, and then we'll dive into more detail on each of these specific items. Most importantly, our job in the solar industry is to help our customers go solar. If they want to pay cash and write us a check, we'll take it. Having personally started selling solar in 2004 when the real estate market was still really strong, and obviously we've seen it come back. But we had, early on, the first probably 150 systems I sold were all cash-based systems. Companies like Sunrun and Solar City didn't exist. Third-party financing wasn't available. And we had a lot of customers leverage cash or existing home equity or a conventional type of loan to purchase going solar. When we do this, again, our goal is to earn their business. Some customers will say things like, "I've never financed anything in my life, and I never want to." My response would be, "Great, we'd love to work with you, and we love to take a check or a credit card. We're happy to do that directly." Other people are really interested in leveraging financing, and they have specific examples of how maybe they haven't done it in the past, but they recently decided to lease a car instead of buy it because the financing options were just too good to pass up. I can speak from personal experience, having recently purchased a new vehicle with my wife in the last 2 years. We originally were going to buy a a certified used vehicle because just from a budget standpoint, we thought it would be the better fit. But because of the financing the dealership provided, we literally could not afford not to buy a new car because the financing was so good. At 1.9%, we simply couldn't do better than that with a credit union or a conventional type loan on a used vehicle. And so the decision for us to buy a new car was heavily based on the ability for us to leverage better financing. And so again, when we look at this, don't be afraid to present ideas like this to customers. Speaking from experience, walking into a car dealership, telling them I wasn't interested in financing, we ended up walking out of there with a fully financed vehicle because of the options available. And so again, as we go through the sales process with our customers, our job is to be the solar experts. Our job is to provide them with options. What I used to tell my customers was that I wanted to give them as many options as they could. You know, a lot of our customers have in their head they need to get 3 bids before they make a decision. When they would share that with me, I would explain that I completely understood, and I was happy to provide them 3 bids with 3 different options for myself because I wanted to earn their business, and if they wanted options, I could provide all of them in-house. And so most importantly, I was going to earn their business whatever option they decided. When I look at sales and how we can be effective, again, the more information and questions we can answer to our customers, the easier it is for them to decide to do business with us and to not go elsewhere looking for questions to be answered. So back to the solar financing. When we look at the 4 different finance products or 4 different types of purchase methods listed here, we'll start with cash. It can be a great return on investment. It's the least complicated. There's no strings attached. And again, we'll go into more detail on this specifically. But when in doubt, if a customer isn't willing to share what their interest is in financing, I always start with cash because for the most part, it's the least complicated to discuss. Next, we'll look at traditional financing. Specifically by traditional financing, I mean things like either a customer doing a home equity line or doing a refinance where they build in the cost of solar that they're going to do as part of this loan process. For a lot of our customers, this can be very familiar. They're working with their existing lending institutions, their local bank or credit union. They know them, they trust them, they're familiar. Some of the downsides to this can be the process required to go through it. It may not be something that they can tell you immediately, hey, I'm already pre-approved for an equity line. Some of our customers might already have that, and they know they can tap into that. For other customers, for example, if they wanted to do a refinance, it might require getting a new home appraisal, going through that process, so that can elongate the sales process. Nothing wrong with it, but it's just important for us to realize that, again, if our goal is to suggest to a customer that they do a refinance, that can definitely extend the overall sales process because that is not something that the bank can give them a immediate answer on. And by immediate, I mean same day. It's certainly something that maybe the bank can provide in a short period of time, but it is something to be aware of. Next, third-party finance. We'll talk about the pros and cons of this. It can be great in the ability to offer customers with a limited or no upfront cost. There is definitely a long-term agreement that's signed. There is limitations based on where this is available, both in markets as well as to all of you as contractors. And also, there's definitely with with ownership and transferring the system if they were to sell the system down the road. There's additional details there as well. Again, we'll speak about all of these in more comprehensively. And then finally, the new ownership structures. When we look at new ownership structures, there are things like PACE, that's a property tax assessment. There are a variety of different things going on within the solar market, some more common than others. We'll speak about this in some detail, and just for you to be aware, in some markets these aren't available at all, whereas other markets they've been around for a couple years, and we're continuing to see them grow in prevalence. All right, so when we look at this next slide, this discusses the credit pyramid. And the goal here is to quickly illustrate how, depending on what a customer's credit score is, they will have more or less options available to them. The magic number within the solar industry is right around 650 to 680. Above 650 to 680, just about every single finance option available is available to the customer. Once we go below that 650 mark, we can quickly see how some of these options go away. Specifically, just about every type of third-party ownership, be it through Sunrun, Clean Power Finance, or many of the other companies offering third-party ownership, we see their ability to offer solar to customers go away. And so again, specifically, that magic number is right around 650. Then there's other loan products available, and we'll speak to this in more detail. Companies like Green Sky Admirals Bank that will have the ability to loan people money, even if their credit is below 650, but you'll see their interest rates tied to the customer's credit score. So as the credit score goes down, the interest rate goes up. Okay, so what we'll do now is to speak to cash. And again, this is what I'm sure many of you are familiar with, so we won't spend too much time here. But the benefits, it's easy to facilitate. The customer takes the tax credit. There's 100% ownership. Selling the home in the future has no issues at all. So no long-term agreements, no credit checks, nothing like that required. From a sales standpoint, a lot of customers are asking things like, what will my return on investment be? Should I leverage my own cash versus using your financing? So from a conclusion standpoint, cash is great, but not everyone has it, or not everybody wants to spend it specifically on this investment. One of the things when it comes to selling cash is being able to understand what are they currently doing with their cash. If they literally have their money buried under their mattress, right now they are losing money each year due to inflation. So again, investing cash in something where they can see a 5 or 6% return on investment after the tax credit can be really exciting. Again, if that money's buried under the mattress. If they're Warren Buffett and they're earning 20% plus on their cash, well, then maybe they don't want to invest it. Maybe they would rather leverage the bank's money and be able to make a return on the bank's investment, on the bank's loan, as opposed to investing their cash when they're making 20% return. Now, I think for the majority of our customers, they're not making a 20% return, but it's important as we pitch cash and as we help support them in their decision to go solar, that we do ask clarifying questions that can make it easy for them to see how leveraging their own cash can or doesn't make as much sense. One of the easiest things I used to ask my customers early on in the process was, have you thought about how you would like to invest in going solar? Some customers will say, I haven't. I just know it's a good idea and I'd like to explore all options. Other customers might tell me they've done a lot of research and based on their research, they absolutely want to invest cash and then they tell me why. Other customers tell me that they're really not interested in investing cash at all and they really want to explore what kind of financing is available. Most importantly, by asking the simple question, have you thought about how you'd like to invest in going solar, it can give you a really clear picture as to how much research they've done and how involved they want you to be in helping them decide the purchase method. So that's cash. Next, third-party ownership. So again, companies that you'll see who offer this, SolarCity, Sunrun, Vivint, and Clean Power Finance are all large companies offering this. A company like SolarCity and Vivint only offer this as part of what they offer to their customers. Companies like Sunrun and Clean Power Finance offer this third-party ownership model to their installer network. And so you can become a partner of these companies and offer this in turn to your clients. Sunrun has been able to generate a tremendous amount of customers across the country by partnering with great local contractors to offer this directly to customers. Third-party ownership is not available in all markets, but it is certainly available in a lot of the major markets. So the key benefits, one option is little or no investment. So literally you can go solar for $0 down. The prepaid option is where the customer pays the entire purchase amount up in one upfront payment, but they're able to take advantage of all of the other third-party benefits. That includes a 20-year warranty, a performance guarantee, monitoring for 20 years. All of the tax credits and rebates are taken directly for you. There's no equipment to own. If you sell your home, everything is under full warranty. Again, this is a great option for some customers, but certainly not for everybody. When we look at these types of questions, when customers evaluate third-party ownership, they ask a lot of the same questions. What will my return on investment be? What happens at the end of 20 years? What if I want to own the system? What if I decide to sell my house? There's a lot of questions that customers answer, and if you're able to offer this, fantastic. But I want to give you the complete confidence that there's a lot of customers who are not interested in going through one of these third-party agreements, depending on their needs. And so there's a lot of opportunity as a member of the solar industry to not offer the solution and to still earn a lot of customers' business. So from a conclusion standpoint, this is currently the #1 method of solar purchase in many markets. It's not available in all markets. There's a lot of requirements that can make this an unflexible option for many customers. And when we look at the major companies within the industry offering this, #1, they're able to drive a lot of volume because of it, but also they have to avoid certain types of customers or system designs, or frankly, they're less nimble than a lot of you on the phone right now. And so you all have a really strong competitive advantage when going up against companies offering this, because by learning from the tips and tricks, you can definitely help turn customers away from doing this if that's what their end goal is. So when we look at something like this, again, it can make a lot of sense for a lot of customers, but some of the same benefits that you see listed here, for example, that you have a 20-year guarantee on the system, can also be a great way to sell against it, because you have a 20-year agreement. You can't take the panels with you. 10 years from now, you can't upgrade the system yourself. All of the options currently available on the market don't allow you to add batteries down the road. It can be challenging to add on to the system in the future. There's a lot of reasons why this doesn't make sense for every customer. And again, by you better understanding these options, if you are selling against these on a regular basis, you will find yourself able to earn a lot of customers' business who are interested and attracted to solar because of the advertising and the things they hear about these programs. But as they dive into the details, they realize it's not the best fit for them. Okay. Next, traditional finance, Green Sky, Admiral's Bank. For some of you might know, we have a partnership with Green Sky, AE does, and so there's information at the end of this presentation. Green Sky has been doing has been in the lending industry for many years, working with solar customers, and it can be a great fit for a lot of customers. Ultimately, our #1 goal is for you to leverage whatever finance product you have at your disposal to earn as many customers' business as you can, and then to turn around and to buy the equipment from us. So while we'll certainly speak to companies like Green Sky, it's by no means the only product out there. And again, our #1 goal is for you to be successful in growing your business and to purchase equipment from us as part of that. We will continue to develop partnerships with finance companies and do our best to make them available to all of you. But again, while we'll speak to products like Green Sky specifically, it is certainly not the only option out there. And the #1 thing is to understand what's best for you and your company. And so, in terms of the traditional financing, it can, in some examples, not require any investment at all. So essentially, the customer can go solar for $0 down because they're able to finance their entire a company like Green Sky as an example, and ultimately they can provide all of their pricing and things like that directly to you. But most importantly, if a customer has a credit score of 720, they might be able to do that same 18-month loan at a lower interest rate than if they had a credit score of 600, just because purely from a financial standpoint, using their credit score as an indicator of risk, a 720 credit score is going to give you a better financing option. Again, many of you on the phone have gone through a process of getting a mortgage or finance vehicles or finance other things, these types of financing work exactly the same way. They're looking at credit, they're looking at loan to value on the home in some situations, and they're looking at things like bankruptcy to determine, is this customer a good candidate for financing, and what should the rates be based on, again, their credit qualification. So many times customers will ask us, how much is the interest rate? Is this better than a lease? What if I can do better with my local lender? When customers ask me these questions, my first response is always a smile, because these are buying questions. This is exactly what I want to hear from my customer, because we've already gone past the dialogue of should I go solar, and now we're talking about what's the best way to pay for it. So get excited when you hear these kinds of questions. Now, in terms of how do we answer them, if I was talking to a customer and we hadn't gone through any part of the qualification process, for example, if we hadn't run through the qualification process with GreenSky, the short answer is we won't know what their interest rate is that depending on their credit score, their interest rate can be variable. Most importantly, we can understand what typical interest rates are, which, for example, go anywhere between 2.99% to 5.99%. But when a customer is interested in the interest rate, I can give them basic information and then explain. It's a great process. This is a really great, quick process. In less than 5 minutes, we can find out what you're qualified for, and I'll be able to tell you that exactly. So let's follow up with those next steps, and then I help the customer go through that qualification process. It's literally, with a company like GreenSky, you can use their app, and you can do it on your phone at the kitchen table, and you can answer those questions directly. The next question, is this better than a lease? It depends. Depending on what the customer's goals are, depending on what we have available in their market, in many cases it can be much better. We can offer them a great way to finance their cost of solar, and it has maybe a 12-year loan as opposed to a 20-year agreement, and they own the system at the end of 12 years. Next, what if I can do better with my local lender? My response would be absolutely leverage your local lender. If they already have confidence and trust in working with a local lender, the only challenge that I've seen in the past has been when that local lender will have a really complicated loan approval process that can elongate the sales process and end up frankly, reducing the interest from the customer or slowing down the momentum of the sale itself. So if they explain that their local lender has told them they can do this great refinance and it'll take 60 to 90 days, I'm not going to be thrilled to hear that as a sales consultant. That doesn't mean I don't want to earn that customer's business if this is the best option for them, but I will certainly do my best to provide the most efficient way for them to go solar, because again, especially when here we are in the middle of summer, we want to earn their business and we want to get their system installed as quickly as possible. So the way I would respond to something like that might be, that sounds great. I definitely encourage you to work with your local lender. With that being said, you told me that you were really concerned about your high summer electric bills. If this lending process is going to take 90 days before we can start the installation process, this might really slow us down. Let's make sure that we're looking at any other options that can allow you to go solar in a quicker time frame. Again, I like the idea of people working with their local lenders if that's the only way they can go solar, but I want to make sure that we're not doing so in a way that slows down our sales process. Depending on the market that you're in, there may not be as many local solar-specific financing solutions available, in which case that local lender might be by far the best partnership. So the conclusion, having a simple plug-and-play model and product can really accelerate the sales process and remove variables from the equation. That refi or equity line can take more time, but it's great to have options. And it's also great to have the confidence of knowing that if that customer tries the GreenSky, maybe we want to go through the bidding process with a company like Admiral's Bank or GreenSky, but also making sure they know that you're always more than willing to help support them going through their local lender. Next, going into more detail on this. So when we talk about home improvement finance, again, GreenSky being an example, they have a 6, 12, and 18-month short-term loan for floating the tax credit, and they offer a 10 and 12-year loan for the remainder of the cost. You as the installer can also buy down the rate and offer a lower interest rate because essentially you're helping subsidize the cost of that financing. It can be a really easy process to apply and receive payment. It's a great way to offer your customers an easy solution. It is not free, and frankly, it's not even cheap. In some markets, and depending on the product, it can be anywhere from 10 cents to 50 cents per watt based on what you're offering. And also, it's a great way to have a marketing pitch that really gets people's attention. We see this all the time with car companies, furniture companies, 12 months, same as cash financing. When we look at things like this, while it may not be the optimum solution for every customer, it definitely gets a lot of people's attention. It's certainly something you can stand behind and offer to your customers if they're interested. So this might be a great way to spice up your next marketing campaign, or again, any type of advertising you're doing. By having access to a product like this, it can give you the ability to offer this to your customers, even if they don't decide this is the right fit for them. At least you were able to leverage this, and it can really get a lot of people's attention. So when we look at solar financing, my goal is always to provide the customers with the confidence and comfort of knowing that, number one, we had options. Number two, that we really wanted to do business with them regardless of how they financed it, based on what was best for their needs. And then number three, that I was personally able to provide them with good advice and at least discuss the options in front of them and help them determine what the right fit was for them. I used to remind my customers on a regular basis, we'd love to earn your business regardless of what option it is. We won't, we as a company won't make any more or less money. So let's go through these different options. Why don't you share with me which ones sound good to you, potentially what your concerns are, and let's talk through them together. My goal is to be able to recommend the right option for you and to help you go solar. And then after we go through this process, you're going to be so pleased with the consultative approach that we took that you're going to feel really good about recommending me to your neighbors, friends, family, high school teachers, grandparents, the whole bit, right? I mean, for some of you who have seen me do trainings in the past, my goal was always to drive a highly professional consultative sales process, to then leverage that to ask for referrals, because that's the best way to grow your business. And by being able to, again, provide that informative consultative sales process, it makes it really easy for people to want to recommend us to their friends and family, even if they didn't decide to go solar. Maybe they figured out this wasn't the right solution for them, or they're not in the right home. They were so pleased with the overall process that they felt really good about recommending me in the future. Okay, so we've had a chance to talk about traditional finance. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the new types of loan structures available. Now, these are not available in all markets. So if you're working in, let's say, Utah, you may not find any of these options available. They're currently most commonly found in California, and we're continuing to see these types of loan programs spread to other markets. If you're working in the California market, I really encourage you to look into these types of things for two reasons. One, because it can be very beneficial to homeowners, and two, because a lot of the larger companies are not interested in working with these smaller programs. They're not as nimble. They can't conform to this, and there's a lot of customers interested in this, and this is a great competitive advantage about going up against the big companies. The solar cities of the world don't want to work with PACE. They have their own financing, and so it can be a great way to get the customer excited about something that you can offer that somebody else can't. And again, as being a smaller company, it can be easier for you to navigate the processes required. So, again, some of the examples are PACE, Hero, CalFirst. The benefits, customers can qualify for this. It's ownership. It's not a lease or PPA. Essentially, it is financing tied to their property tax assessment. Okay, the credit requirements of the past of the 650 or 680 are not there. For many customers, it's a function of a minimum credit score of 600, along with being able to illustrate their debt-to-value ratio on their home. Again, the questions that customers traditionally ask with this are, what's the interest rate? Is this better than a lease? Again, can I do better with my local lender? Very similar to the same things that they would ask about other financing structures. what's great about these types of programs are they usually have very competitive interest rates. Customers who don't necessarily qualify for some of the third-party ownership will qualify for this. And again, this is something that a lot of the larger companies are not currently offering or not offering very well. And so because of it, this is a real opportunity to differentiate within your market and to better understand how some of these programs can be really lucrative. From having talked to a number of AE dealers over the years, I'm really pleased when I see companies within their local respective markets identify different types of rebate programs or loan programs that, again, as a smaller company, you can easily navigate and you can be nimble when those programs change, and you're able to take advantage of things that really the larger companies just don't have the ability to do. They're big companies, they move slowly, and especially when new programs come out with different requirements, it can be really difficult for them to get up to speed on that, whereas a small company can do it within a week. So this can be a great option to use if available. It doesn't necessarily require the same credit scores, and it can be great from a niche market approach. So when we look at something like this, again, not available in all markets, but don't be afraid, even when you're in some of these smaller markets, really better understand what financing options are available. There's a lot of local banks that are continuing to get interested in solar. Specifically, I've seen so many companies over the years, by companies, I mean banks and credit unions, trying to understand how can they get involved in this market, what can they do to lend money, and also how can they leverage their existing customer base to take advantage of this. We have hundreds of thousands of people every year working with third-party finance providers, but they already have existing relationships with their banks. They already potentially have mortgages or car loans with their credit unions, and they simply haven't gone to those places first. So again, when you're in a smaller market, look at who's doing local lending, and there might be a great partnership available to team up with them and also to be able to take advantage of their existing customer database. I personally worked with a credit union back in 2004 in California when, again, third-party ownership wasn't available. We were able to develop a solar loan program, and they were really excited about it, and they did direct mailings to their customer base. We helped support the cost. They put signage in their local banks, in their local credit unions, and it was really effective in Santa Barbara, California, to drive customers, and especially able to leverage their existing customer database along with the confidence and trust these customers have given they've been partnered with these local banks and credit unions for many years. So when it comes back to solar financing, before we go into the next section, don't be afraid to be creative. The smaller the market you're in, the more the opportunity there is for you to do something new. And also, when we look at things like Green Sky and Admirals Bank, they're continuing to offer solar-specific lending options, and you doing a little bit of research on these can be a great way to differentiate your company from other folks just by being able to advertise some of the things that you can offer. So next up, when we talk about how to use question-based selling to drive the conversation, what I've done is list a variety of questions that we would use in the sales process. The goal, of course, is to give our customers the confidence that we are able to help them regardless of what they're looking for, because we are the solar experts. We've talked to hundreds of people, and we've helped a lot of people go solar just like themselves. So, again, we have all these financing options available. Which ones are the best? It depends. Every customer has different needs. Let's talk to them. The first question, have you thought about how you'd like to invest in solar? It can be such a valuable question. Some customers might say no, and that's it. Other customers, this can start a 15-minute conversation about how they've done their research, their friends that have gone solar, why they're interested in going solar, and everything under the sun. Again, asking these open-ended questions can be a really effective way to just learn more about your customer, where they're at in the buying process, how they've done their research, is it a competitive sale. It's amazing what customers will tell you if you ask them the right questions. Next, do you have a budget in mind? Again, this can tell you a ton of information about what kind of purchase method they've thought about. Are they interested in some type of loan program? Have they been talking to other companies? I remember asking a customer one time, do you have a budget in mind? And he said, yes, I'd like to spend between $20,000 to $22,000 for a 4.2 kilowatt system with an SMA inverter. And I said, all right, it sounds like you've done a lot of research on this. He said, I have. I said, how have you done your research? And he said, I've got 2 proposals from your competitors on my kitchen table right now. And I said, great. Let's go inside. Let's take a look at those. I'd love to review what they've quoted you. I'll be able to explain how we can offer something better and different, or I'll be able to explain how you're getting the best possible deal on the market. Either way, me taking a look at that for 5 minutes is going to be a great way for us to spend our time and for you to have the confidence that you're making the right decision. That was a friendly, polite way for me to get right down to details and to be able to look at these proposals. I've had some customers tell me they don't feel comfortable sharing competitive proposals. I've had other customers offer it and ask me directly, can you give me a better deal? My goal in the sales process is to be extremely consultative and professional. If a customer says they're not comfortable sharing the proposals, I instantly want to put them, I want to make them feel comfortable, and I'll say, I completely understand. Let me start over. Can you explain what you liked about those proposals, and specifically what size system we're looking at, and or where the pricing is, just to give me a better sense of, again, what you're trying to accomplish so I can offer you something comparable. It's amazing at how some customers can get really defensive or misunderstand why we're asking for different pieces of information. But then when we explain ourselves, they say, oh, it totally makes sense. Sure. They're quoting me 20 260-watt modules. And I might say, great. And what kind of module is it? And they say, it's whatever it is, right? A Kyocera module, a Mitsubishi module, a Hanwha, whatever it might be. That alone might tell me who's quoting them, because if I know my local competition, I might know exactly who's quoting them that specific type of module. I don't need to ask who the company is. Just because of the equipment they share, I know who that local competitor is. So again, that do you have a budget in mind can be a really valuable question to ask. Next, do you like the idea of owning a system? Some people might say, I don't care. Other people will tell us how they hate the idea of leasing something and they would never do that in a million years, or vice versa. Can you take advantage of a 30% tax credit? This is really important because depending on the type of financing we provide, this can be one of the easiest ways to earn the business from a competitor. If they don't ask this question, if they assume the customer can take advantage of that tax credit in year one, they may find out that they can't, that they really need some type of short-term loan, let's say a 1 to 3 year loan, to be able to take advantage of that tax credit because they don't want to come out of pocket. Maybe our customer has recently retired and they just don't have the same tax liability they used to. And so it's going to take them 2 to 3 years to be able to claim that federal tax credit. By us asking that question and then being able to explain how we've got a great financing option available to help them out can be a great way to earn their business. Next, based on your research so far, what option sounds best to you and why, right? Now we're asking them, tell me how to sell you a system. Again, some people will say, I don't know. Other people will spend 5 minutes telling us exactly what they're looking for, why they think it's the best option for them, and it's really our job to help them go solar and to meet that solution. And then, of course, this is just going into more conventional standard sales techniques. If we can offer a solution that meets the goals that you just listed, would you like to proceed? We're setting them up to close themselves, right? We've asked them what option sounds best. They've told us. If it's something we can do, we then do the setup close where we ask them, great, if we can provide that system, are you ready to move forward? It's hard for them not to say yes. So they say, well, yes. And we say, great. So here are the next steps. And then we lay out the rest of our sales process. So often within sales, if we wait till the very end of the sales call to ask for the business, we've really done ourselves a disservice. Instead, I'm going to leverage progressive selling throughout the sales process When I ask them, do you have a budget in mind? And they say, yes, we'd like to spend $15,000 to offset 100% of our bill. If I know that that's possible, I say, great, you guys have an excellent idea of what the costs are, and this is definitely something we can do. Are you excited about that? Again, I'm asking a very unassuming close. I'm asking them, are they excited? I'm not asking for them to give me a commitment. I'm not asking for them to sign on the dotted line. I'm simply asking them to confirm if they're excited about going solar. And I want them to say yes. And I'm going to continue to ask them various questions throughout the process where they continue to say yes and they build that sales momentum themselves. That's one of the best parts about going solar is when the customers close themselves. And before we can even ask them for the business, they're pulling out their checkbook asking us, what's the next step? I want to get started on this really quickly. If I write you a check today, will that speed things up? Again, those are exactly the kind of questions we like to hear, and we don't get there by accident. We do it by guiding the customer through the sales process, by continuing to ask them closing questions, by continuing to leverage question-based selling to help them reach the conclusion themselves. And then at the end, we're simply the person who's helping them execute on a logical decision. They've made the decision themselves, and we haven't actually had to do very much selling ourselves. Instead, we've created the right structure and framework within the sales call for the customer to sell themselves. So this last slide just speaks to some of the very basic things that we can use to help customers guide them on which financing option is the best. It starts with, obviously, them being a homeowner. If they can take advantage of the investment tax credit, that federal 30% credit, it can show which options are available to them. If they can't, it can explain what options are available to them. Again, some of our customers, because of their tax liability, can't take advantage of a federal or state tax credit. And so because of that, third-party ownership can be really attractive. So in terms of next steps, evaluate who your customers are. What options do they want to see? Again, incorporate that question-based selling. Review your competitive landscape. Figure out where you can fill a niche. Build your toolbox. Make sure you have a couple financing options available for you and your sales team to leverage as part of the sales process. And then certainly leverage AEE to help create those relationships, with the example being Green Sky Credit. They've got a really handy tool. This is an app that you can use on an iPhone or an iPad. Customers can get approved literally at the kitchen table with this great, simple, automated process. And again, while we are certainly a partner of Green Sky, there's other finance companies available. The main reason we've decided to partner with them is because across the industry, solar installers are finding this to be one of the best solutions available, both because of their pricing, because of the financial products they offer, and also because of their tools and ability to easily incorporate into our existing sales processes. It's really easy at the kitchen table, being able to have customers get qualified in a couple minutes and leverage that as a tool to go solar. So on that note, I'd like to turn it over to questions, and I'd like to make sure that I give everybody the clear reminder. There's going to be a survey that happens at the end of this webinar. It will only take you a minute, and it is the way that you can get a copy of this presentation. So if you've liked what you're seeing, and if you want to be able to share this or review this later with yourself or members of your sales team, you absolutely will have to take that survey at the end to get a copy of the presentation. Okay. Hannah, you want to share some of the questions that have been asked?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Gabe. We'll move into some questions here. Like Gabe said, if you could complete that survey, that'd be great. We'd love to hear your feedback, and we'll send you a copy of the slides. And you can exit the webinar at any time, but I'm sure we're going to get to some good questions here. So we'll move on. All right, first question, Gabe. For traditional finance, what is the typical dealer fee?
The typical dealer fee can be anywhere between 10 cents to 50 cents per watt, and I'm using examples from Green Sky based on the financing option available. So specifically, if we're offering a customer a 12-month loan for, let's say, just the amount of a federal tax credit, it might just be that smaller 10 cents fee per watt fee. If we are financing the entire cost of the system, we're using an 18-month loan on the federal tax credit and a 12-year loan on the rest of the system, and we want to offer that customer 2.99% interest on the 12-year loan, that's going to be likely the most expensive option, and that could easily be 50 cents per watt or several $1,000s when you look at the total system cost. So most importantly, if you're interested in finding out those exact solutions, leveraging our relationship with AEE, which we have more information on our website, and with GreenSky, you can get their pricing. They literally have a menu of all their financing options available, and it shows based on what the customer's credit score is and what you want to provide to them, and at the interest rate, what that cost is. So they've got 30 plus different scenarios, again, depending on customer credit, what length of loan, what interest rate, but that 10 cents to 50 cents a watt is a very good general estimate on what the cost can be, but you'll have to talk to them and look at their options directly to get the exact number.
Okay, great. The next question we have, what if the customer says they usually don't pay a lot in taxes, so they can't use all of the federal tax credit in 1 year?
Yeah, that's very common. And so that's where leveraging, again, some type of traditional financing, companies like GreenSky, Admirals Bank, even an equity line, for example. So a traditional equity line, you can borrow for up to 5 years before you have to pay it back completely. And so many customers will leverage an equity line if they intend on paying the loan off within 5 years. If it's longer than that, they might want to look at doing some type of a refinance just to be able to lock in that rate for a greater period of time. But an equity line might be a great way to essentially float the federal tax credit so that customer can, again, based on their tax liability, receive the benefits at, let's say, over 3 to 4 years.
All right, great. The next question we have, we are in a market where we compete against companies like Solar City. What's your advice in selling against them when we can't offer a zero down like them?
Yeah, and so the short answer is talk to the customer. It's that for every customer who believes they want a zero down, many of them find that they can save more money by going a different route. Sure, the zero down is exciting. Frankly, it's pretty attractive when you look at the idea of going solar without investing anything. But at the same time, these same customers, when they realize that by investing some money, they can make a greater return on investment, or they'll have more options and freedom down the road, they really like the idea of it. So anytime a customer tells me, I want to go solar and I want to go solar with the zero down, my very first response is, that sounds exciting. Tell me why. And then I listen. And if they tell me, well, they like the idea of saving money, they like the idea of whatever it is, right, of fixing their cost of power, I will. And again, my sales approach was, when people tell me why, I would write it down. I want to make a clear record of why it is. And then I'd come back to them and say, let me get this right. You like the idea of going solar with the zero down because you want to save money. You like the idea of having control over your cost of power. You love the idea of, again, being able to fix your cost of power and being able to plan for the long term. If I was, there are other options available. If I was able to show you another option where you could save even more money and have even more control over your cost of power, would you be interested in looking at it? And they usually say, well, sure, I'll take a look at that. And I say, great. Let me explain to you, and then I go into my pitch about whatever it might be. Again, a cash sale that you're financing gives them the same ability to, let's say, go solar for little or no investment, but they have greater control. They can own their system in the long run, and they'll definitely make more money over time. Companies like Solar City are currently offering cash-based financing, but it's a 30-year loan. And so you can imagine that when you've got a 30-year loan, and again, this is Solar City, they've currently got an offer here, with a 30-year loan, you're paying more in interest than you are for the actual amount of the solar itself. And so while these things can look really attractive, by quickly going into the details with the customer, you can help them realize that if their goal is to save money and have control, that there's definitely better options out there available. Hannah, back to you.
Great. Thanks, Gabe. The next question we have, can you provide additional information on how you worked with your credit union to develop a financial product that worked for you and your customers?
Absolutely. So, this was something where they actually approached us, but the first step is to just go in and to ask them, explain exactly who you are. You're a local member of the community who installs solar, and you're curious about what their current renewable, about their current solar loan options are that are available, because a lot of your customers are asking you which credit unions offer these kinds of services? It's a great leading question because then they will say, first of all, they'll say, I'm glad you're talking to us. They might actually have something available or they may not. But by you positioning it as you're a local member of the community who's helping people go solar and your customers are asking you about financing, specifically what options the local credit unions or banks are offering, they love to hear that. They want to loan money. That's their job. I used to remind people, I'd say, hey, my job is to help people go solar. I'm not a solar banker. That's why I want to talk to you guys. You make money off of loaning people money. You're the experts at it. What can I tell them when they're interested? Do you have anything available? And if they would say no, they didn't, I'd say, okay. Do you plan on doing anything in the near future? Because a lot of people are interested in how they can borrow locally to go solar. And then I'd listen. You'd be surprised at how many people within the lending industry, even in small markets, have heard about solar financing going on. And because, again, from a lending perspective, there's not a lot of new things coming their way. People finance homes and cars and boats and things like that. But this is one of the newest things happening within the lending industry. And a lot of people, even if they don't have a product locally, have at least read about it if they've been in the lending in the industry for very long. Hannah, back to you.
All right. The next question we have. In my state, there are no leasing options available. What would be the best financing options to offer commercial customers?
So that's a great question. When we look at the commercial landscape, there are a variety of different things. There are some programs available offered through states, for example, PACE or things like this, where it's property tax assessment. But assuming that's not available either, it depends. Sometimes the best can be you're talking to your commercial partners about their existing credit lines. I would say that this is easily one of the last things that really needs to be solved is that there is currently not a great finance solution for small commercial systems anywhere in the country. You could even be in a mature market like California, and there is still not a great finance solution available for companies, for systems in that, let's say, 5 to 100 kW size. A lot of the commercial finance companies available simply don't want to loan to things that small. And a lot of the traditional residential finance companies haven't done much in that area as well. So unfortunately, this is certainly one of the more underserved parts of the overall market. Without knowing the state that you're in, I can say with confidence that you're likely going to find this one of the harder things to find financing for as part of any part of the overall solar industry, those small to medium-sized commercial customers. And that's true regardless of the state you're in. So unfortunately, I don't have as many solutions here because on behalf of the industry, it's simply one of the last things that's really been solved for. But the best advice is probably to talk to them about their current lending opportunities. And unfortunately, it's usually something that is in a 5-year or less type of agreement. But that is, you've identified clearly one of the more underserved parts of the solar industry from a lending perspective right now.
Great. And we'll move on to our final question. We have a lot of customers ask about financing, but we really don't want to become bankers. What's the easiest finance solution to offer customers?
The easiest finance solution is always going to be for a customer to just pay literally with a check. That being said, even though you don't want to be bankers, and I get it, I came from a construction background and I've really had to learn a lot about finance being as part of this industry. I would really put it out there that you're going to have to, if you and your company want to be successful working in solar sales, you're going to have to come up to speed to at least, but you don't have to be an expert, but you need to be well versed in financing enough to give your customers the right level of information. So I completely understand that you don't want to be bankers, but you're going to have to invest some time with you and your sales team to be knowledgeable in the basic financial stuff out there, just so you can correctly and professionally speak to the options available. Again, I come from a family of contractors. Being in sales and being in finance is really something that was new to me when I got involved in the solar industry, but I found that by spending the time educating myself, learning some basic financial things, just understanding about loans and tax credits and things like that, it really enabled me to set myself apart from my competitors within the solar industry, and to give my customers the confidence that they were receiving the right level of advice. So I agree. I don't want you to become solar bankers either, but I am going to challenge everybody on this call that you're going to have to spend some time learning about this. And clearly, you all being part of this webinar is you're obviously demonstrating that you're doing that. So, don't be afraid to learn about solar finance. We don't want to overcomplicate the sales process, but we do need to know enough to be able to give our customers the confidence that they're working with a solar company that can give them the right level of information and help them go solar.
Thanks, Gabe. That concludes the Q&A portion of our webinar. Thank you so much, Gabe, for taking the time to present. Do you have any closing comments here before we end?
Well, thank you again, Hannah, for letting me be part of this presentation. Everyone on the call, I wish you all the best of luck in working in this industry. It's a really exciting industry to be part of, and when we look at the impact it has on the economy, on our customers, this industry is continuing to grow, and all of you are in this industry at the right time. I mean, we are truly in the infantile stages of the greater solar industry, and with less than 1% of all Americans having gone solar, we have a lot of empty roofs out there for us to take advantage of. So great luck selling. We as AE will continue to be your partner in the solar industry and continue to let us know how we can continue to support you. And on that note, Hannah's going to go over the details of the survey next. So please give us your feedback. Let us know how we can provide greater support to you to help you grow your business, because we're in this with you together, and we certainly want you to grow your business, and we'll help you grow together and have you help us grow ours as well. So Hannah, back to you.
All right, thanks, Gabe. As Gabe said, that survey will pop up once you exit the webinar, and if we could just have a minute of your time to complete that and provide your feedback, we'll send you a copy of the slides. And don't forget to join us in 2 weeks for our next presentation in the summer webinar series, Grid-Side Battery Backup Systems. So more of a technical topic, but extremely informational. And don't forget to check out our website for more training opportunities with AEE Solar. Take a look at our next webinars and workshops coming up. We'd love to help you out and help your business succeed and grow. And these recordings will be posted to YouTube after the series has completed, so stay tuned for that. You'll be able to go back and review the ones you missed or the ones you watched. All right, and thanks again, Gabe, and thank you everyone for joining us on this Friday morning, and have a great weekend.